If you're wanting the best locations and ways to farm Holiday Scorched, this video has you covered with over 12 locations that Holiday Scorched can spawn, including why you actually need 12 locations to begin with, and several other helpful tips that I give along the way, and also some bonuses as always, because like I said, if you're using caps to get there, you might as well get the most out of every visit, so stick around for all these tips. You might learn something new. In case you're wondering what Holiday Scorched are, here is a brief overview. They are similar to the Spooky Scorched, as they are legendary Scorched that are dressed up in holiday attire, for example, Santa Claus, and they have holiday gifts that they give out. The holiday gifts this year include awesome rewards, including 14 new rewards and the single best reward Fallout 76 players have ever gotten, the Vintage Water Cooler Plan. These Holiday Scorched will also be making a jingling noise, so make sure to adjust your audio settings accordingly so you can really hear them. If you want to learn more tips about Holiday Scorched, their rewards, or the 2 other ways you can get holiday gifts, make sure to check out my last video. Now, you can start farming Holiday Scorched this Tuesday, December 19th, noon Eastern Standard Time through January the 2nd at noon Eastern Standard Time. Before we go any further, please remember to give me a big Vault Boy thumbs up and consider nuking that subscribe button on the way out and sharing this info with others that are in need. Now, let's get into some of the best farming locations in the Wasteland. So most of these places are very reliable in my experience, and they spawn more than one Holiday Scorched, and they aren't crazy big. I'll even show you some commonly overlooked areas to make sure you check before leaving some of these locations so no Holiday Scorched is left behind. Now, quick PSA. This is by no means every location. It is not every location. These are my go-to locations. In fact, if you're wanting more locations, I'll be throwing in some honorable mentions at the end, but I have a Spooky Scorched video with over 30 spawn locations if you're wanting to refine your route or get more locations along your way, as they are both the same. Now, you may be wondering why you need 12 locations to begin with. Well, every area resets after 20 to 25 minutes, so anything that is dead will respawn, and the more creatures that are dead, the higher the probability that the next time you go there, you will get a Holiday Scorched. I am recommending that you kill everything that you see. Now, it has been recommended in the past that you should pick up all your loot as well. You can drop it after you picked it up or break it down. I'm not so sure that it really affects the spawn in my experience, but others have actually said that it does. So do with that information whatever you would like. Now, when we ran Spooky Scorched back in October, we would sometimes run into these frozen Spooky Scorched. So it's important to run around some of these areas so you can actually activate the Holiday Scorched or wake them up. Another tip is if you see someone else come to your area, it isn't always a bad thing, because some of these locations I would actually end up with more Holiday Scorched if other people came to actually farm at the same time I was. I'm not exactly sure how this happened, but they would be killing the Holiday Scorched too, and then I would end up with even more Holiday Scorched than before. It was weird. I will go over all those locations that I had this happen, so that way you don't miss out on anything. Make sure to equip the Travel Agent perk card that is a 1-star under Charisma, as it will save you 30% on all of your travel. Lastly, most of these places are more than one location, so I have it as one, but it's actually multiple locations. However, they are close together, so it might as well be one, which is why I count it as such. The first location we'll start with is the Charleston Capitol Building and the Summersville Dam, actually. These 2 locations are right beside each other. There's plenty of Scorch, as you can see here. And you just want to make sure that you actually go down and around. This is actually the dam. But you just need to make sure that you're checking underneath of here too, because there's a lot that spawn down below you. And at Charleston, you really just need to be running all the way through because there's lots of different trigger points for spawn locations. Now right here, there's not that many that spawn in there. It's more ghouls and super mutants and a grafted monster. There's snallygasters that also spawn in here. So you get a mix of all different things, but this place, if you're running with a bunch of people, it works great. So this is the first spot. This is the place where that event starts. Anyway, you want to make sure you run down through here, because you will find once you get through here, there's usually a ton of Scorch that end up spawning behind this right here, and they'll come from around the side of the building as well. The more people you have, the better. And like if you have some of them that kind of filter in later on, it will still continue to trigger. I have no idea why, but it does. Does it do it every time? No. Does it do it a lot of the times? Yes. And then normally I just kind of run up and around, and there is another trigger point up here, so I normally run up and through here. And normally if it's going to work, they kind of trigger right in there. And like I said, the more people you have for whatever reason, there it is. The more people you have, the better it is. If you're running by yourself, I wouldn't really suggest coming here. You can also check on the tops of the buildings. There's one there already, and then on this side as well, looks like there's one frozen right there. So if you know that there's locations, if you start coming to these places and you notice that there's some that's frozen, I would say make sure you go over and kind of wake them up. But this is another trigger location right down through here, so you just keep on running. Give me your clothes. Anyway, they'll kind of start spawning all the way around, so I just kind of stick to this basic area and just kind of go all over this place here. The next location we'll be heading to is Camden Park. Now Camden Park has 4 different locations you can actually go to find Scorched. Now there's a ton of stuff that you can get down here. There's power armor frame, there's fusion cores, there's I don't know how many magazines, 3 or 4, about 3 or 4 bobbleheads as well. I've went over that several times in other videos, so I won't drag everybody through that. But there's more Scorched up there that you'll want to check for. And then right down here, there will be more Scorched behind the hot dog lady. And then in the middle as well, there will be more Scorched. Remember, when you're at Camden Park, you should stop by and see if you can find the scavenger trader, because there is a spawn right down here. Here it is. It's not too far. Nope. Here we are at Fort Defiance, which isn't too far from Foundation. Right there. Anyhow, you just need to make sure that you're farming the front of this building. That's where the Scorched spawn in at. And also, if you see the line in the sand pop up, this is an excellent event to actually farm Holiday Scorched. And while you're here, you can also check for the Red Asylum dress. From Fort Defiance, we'll be heading straight over to Ranger District Office. Now, this place is fantastic. There's a bobblehead or 2 that spawn here in a magazine, so you can be on the lookout for those. This guy is almost always frozen. It can be a Holiday Scorched, so just make sure you kind of run up and check him. If it does have a legendary star beside it, give it a second and see if it loads in as an actual Holiday Scorched, because sometimes it takes a second for it to actually pop up. Now, this location also has a chainsaw, so if you're wanting to do a chainsaw and scrap it so that way you can get the dual blade plan, this is a great place to come. But this guy right here is normally also frozen. You want to also run inside. This guy is always frozen. I think I came in here 4 times in total, where out of probably 100 last time where they were not frozen. And then this guy is normally frozen as well. Like I said, just make sure you're paying attention to whether or not they're actually legendary or not. Now there's a guy here that's always frozen as well. One of the bobbleheads magazines can spawn up in here. So just be on the lookout for that. And then also one last place right here. There's usually a couple out front, but there's also always one in here as well that's normally frozen. And I found a bunch at this very location, so make sure that you're going out and looking. From the Ranger District Office, we are going to hop straight up to Tosstown. Now this location is very good because it has a bunch of Scorched, but then it's also right beside a fissure site, so you can always go over there and actually check to see if there's any up there, because they just spawn in there randomly. So any fissure sites you can actually farm for Holiday Scorched, just FYI. But you just need to come in here. Standing on top of the roofs is normally enough to kind of wake them up. From Tosstown, you want to hop right on over here to Pleasant Valley. Now this is one of my favorite locations, and yes, it looks like we're backtracking, but I did it for a very specific reason, and you will see shortly why I did that, because it just makes more sense. Anyhow, you can always pick and choose which ones you want. And like I said, if you feel the need to, that you need a different plan or you need different route, I have 30 locations in a Spooky Scorched video where you can go and just try to figure out a better route just for you. These are the best locations that I have found that spawn the most frequently Scorched. Now there's some up top, all over the place up here. There's one that's always over there. Most of the time these aren't frozen, but if you run through here, most of the time that's enough to wake them up. There's always going to be quite a few out front here. There is a ton of magazines. There are a ton of bobbleheads here. There's also a ton of plans and mods and all sorts of stuff. Alcohol, canned dog food, just about anything, you name it, it is at this location. Now this location is actually 3 places. This one I don't really count as an extra location, even though it is. This is top of the world. And then, like I said, we're at Pleasant Valley. But there's normally one that spawns like right here. And that's the only one I've ever seen. But they're also inside. They're normally frozen on the inside, so you need to make sure that you're running through there. They aren't normally downstairs. Every once in a while they will be. You can always hop down there and check and see if you can find a rare baseball bat at that vendor as well. Then you want to run up the hill and you're going to actually be at Pleasant Valley Cabins, and this is the other part of this location. So this does not count as a whole separate location, even though technically it is. I count it all together because you're just running. You're running straight up the hill. So after you get done with this location, because you'll be going up and around and through, and you want to kind of hop over through here, make sure you get the ones that's on this bus, and then you will want to hop up to the top here. And there will be 2 on the outside and then 2 on the inside that you'll need to check. And then hop down here to this cabin. And now there are 2 turrets that have the possibility to spawn in here, but there's also 2 scorched. There's normally 2 scorched in this house as well as a red roach that will pop up like right now. There it is. Anyhow, you just want to kill all these guys and make sure they're not holiday scorched. There's always one that spawns in this building right here. This door is normally locked, so if it's not open, I would just run up to the door and peek in and see if it is a holiday scorch, because that did happen one time last time to me. So then after that, you just want to hop up and around unless you're farming for other things, and just head straight over here. And right through here you can actually see most of the scorch. There's about 4 that spawn in here, and maybe 5. There's a ton of salt and pepper and sugar and stuff in that place too. And then there's always 2 over here as well. And that would conclude your run through Pleasant Valley as one of my locations, even though it's technically 3. Once you're finished with the cabins, I normally like to take this time to actually go back. I normally find a bunch here, so I normally just go ahead and take my script back down to the train station. Here of late, almost every single time I came through here, these guys were spawned back, and I actually had 1 or 2 more holiday scorched. Even if somebody else had come through and started farming them, I literally was getting more. I have no idea why. It just was happening, so I want you guys to know. But just kind of, this is the route I take, and they end up spawning in. So I'm just showing you that in case that has anything to do with it. It just happened so many times, I just stuck with it. But here is the train station. From Pleasant Valley or Pleasant Valley Cabins, you want to hop right on over here to White Powder Winter Sports. Now, if you watch my possum video, you'll probably recognize this place. You can actually go down the road here and try your hand at getting the vendor bot. But there's normally about 4 scorched that actually spawn in here, if not 5. I think there's 1 on the road, and then 2 on the outside, and 2 or 3 on the upstairs. I've actually had up to 3 here at one time, and a lot of people don't come over here and check this location, so it's fantastic. There's also a bunch of salt and pepper here. If you ever need to eat like meat-based meals, there's also a ton of hot dogs. Alright, from White Powder Winter Sports, you want to head straight over here to Helvetia. Now, when you spawn into Helvetia, you normally will spawn in right here at the top of the road. It's kind of the backside of Helvetia. If you actually go to Helvetia, it's kind of the way that you actually come in real life, or at least the way that we came in real life. Anyway, you want to head backwards and away from Helvetia and go to Greg's Mine Supply. Now, it looks like it's super far away, but it is really close and right up over this hill. Now, this is, like I said, 2 locations, but I only count it as 1. And this location is not farmed very well. People don't know where the scorched are at. They get frozen here all the time. It is a fantastic place to actually look these guys up. So anyhow, there's, as you can see, a ton of them already. And we're just getting started. There's normally 1 that's sitting in here that's actually frozen, and then I was going to say there's a magazine that can spawn in here, and there it is. Then you can also go down and around this way. Now, there's not normally any right through here, but when you get around, you will find some. And then there will be several more right here, which is in the basement. See, and this one's normally frozen as well. And then you just want to head out through the back here. And then there will be some right there, but there's also one that's always frozen right there that you just need to check. If you need to start breaking down stuff that you picked up because you don't have a tent or anything, this is a great place to do it. And then after you're done, you'll just want to hop up and over and go to Helvetia. Now Helvetia, there's several places that you actually need to check while you're here, because otherwise you'll be missing out on a ton of opportunities to actually get the Holiday Scorched. So there's like three, I consider it like three places technically. So you have the back side, which is right here. Now there's only about 3 Scorched that spawn up here, but I've had 2 of those be Holiday Scorched at one time. And there's always normally one on the bridge down here as well. Looks like he's right there. Anyway, these can also be frozen, so you just need to make sure that you're running through there. So the cheese house, and then right up there, you can actually see that one there. There's tons of salt and pepper here if you need that. There's a ton of scorch. There's lots of glass. There's a ton of wood. A ton of wood. And if you don't know about that, it's right here. And then it's in front and behind most of the buildings or on the side of the buildings. So you put on woodchucker, you come down here, you'll walk away with so much wood in a couple seconds, it's ridiculous. Now there's one that can get stuck inside this house. There's 2, I do believe, that spawn in this house. And they can be upstairs or downstairs. Looks like they're already dead. And then there's also a house right back here that you'll need to check. And there's 2 that spawn in here as well. There's normally one right around in here somewhere, and then another one that's either coming down the stairs or will be coming down the stairs, and they're up here. So pretty cool. There's also a kitchen if you need to raid that as well. There's also a bunch of silver here, so if you ever need to pick up silver for the day, this is a fantastic place. Also, if you're doing treasure hunters, this is another fantastic place to actually come and look, because half the time they'll be just standing out here on the porch and nobody knows that they're there. Well, somebody's spending some big money. Alright, let's keep going. So you just want to head straight down the road. So this is location number 3. There will be several that spawn in this house. They will be frozen half the time, so make sure you go up there. There's also one that's normally kind of roaming around here. There's a couple that's inside of here. They sometimes will be upstairs frozen, so you just need to check. And then there's normally 1 or 2 that's frozen in the road. Like here they are right there. And then the church. There will be frozen ones in here. Some of these just won't even move. Like you can come right up to him, take a picture. It's this one. You can come right up to it, take a picture and everything else, and he'll never move. So if you ever find a Holiday Scorched, you want to get a picture with him, this is a fantastic place to look to see if you can find it right here. And then if you want to find the Smiling Man, you can actually just run straight up the road and you might be able to find him. From Helvetia, you'll want to come right up here to Morgantown. Now that's the airport. Anyhow, when you spawn in here, unless you're going to an event, it definitely will just spawn you in at the train station. So this is a perfect time to actually turn in some script. You could have also done it at Pleasant Valley. You might need to do it both times. Now this is another one of those spots where it's multiple. So this is a 3-for-1. You're going to end up going over here to the airport, to the train yard, and to the pub. Now you can run this any way that you like. Everybody does it differently. Heck, I do it differently almost every single time. But let me go ahead and show you the highs and low points. So there are a ton of scorch that spawn down here. You'll need to go around the side here and all the way back and around. There's also a ton of scorch that spawn up here. Now a lot of times you can kind of come up here even if they're frozen and just kind of look if you're not wanting to kill everything, even though it is recommended that you do it with the Holiday Scorched. But there's also a ton of scorched up here as well. Now after this point, I'm taking you up here because this is Collision Course. Now this is a fantastic event to get more Holiday Scorched. Like seriously, you can't get any better. Anyway, if it's available, when you run through, half the time you'll hear a siren go off. And then all you gotta do is actually launch this. So if you happen to see, this is not one of those events that actually pop up as exclamation marks. So if you ever click on events and you just happen to. Anyhow, it's just a load of scorch that keep coming wave after wave. The more people you have here, the better it is. Anyway, to get back, you'll just, if you happen to come up here to do that, you just need to head back down the way you came in, basically. And this is the other side of the bottom. Like we came in right over there. There's the train station. There will be scorch down here, like I said. You just want to head straight out the gate here or hop over and run towards that blue building. Now there's 3 scorch that can actually spawn in here. 2 on the outside and 1, I think, on the top or on the inside. Anyway, a lot of people don't come over here, so half the time there's one just sitting over here, just, you know, waiting to be picked up. So just make sure you hop there, and then you're going to just continue straight down through here and head towards the train yard. There's the 3rd one that's shooting at me now. But anyway, this location you will need to actually run through and wake these guys up. There's a ton right in here, and they can actually go all the way up to that 2nd building, and then you want to make sure that you're running through both buildings to wake them up. Now this is one of those locations where if somebody else spawns in, I've actually had them load back in. Like I have went through the building, killed everything, and then my husband came because he was just late and didn't hear me say, oh, there's nothing there. And anyway, he loaded in while I was, you know, clearing it out basically, and then all of a sudden here's some that are there that weren't there a second ago. Alright, from Morgantown you'll want to head straight north to Wavy Willard's Water Park. Now a lot of people don't like to come here. I like to come here. There's always, it seems like you can see most of the scorched right up front, and I normally have pretty good success here. I usually find at least 1 if not more, but there's always 3 at the beginning. And half the time you come in here, they'll be frozen, so make sure that you're actually checking. Now, there's some that's up here. And like I've said in previous videos, they can be on the inside, so you kind of need to run past all these buildings to see if you can wake them up. Because these are open areas, they're not instanced areas, so they can actually wake up and you can do it. Now, I've had them be in these bathrooms before, even though that it's only happened 1 time. I just tell people to kind of check just to make sure, because what's it going to hurt? And then there's always about 3 or 4 that spawn back here, so you just need to make sure that they're woken up, and you're checking to make sure that they are not Holiday Scorched there. And then I always run back up and through here, or I'll go up and around. Now the biggest thing I can tell you about this location is I don't know why, but down here there's always a Scorched, and half the time it is a Holiday Scorched. So if you look down in here and you see a legendary, just hop down in there. Because sometimes you can actually hear it and you don't know where it's at, and that's what it is. It's the fact that it's woken up already, and you actually just need to hop down there and find it. But it will, if you take enough time, half the time it will run out on its own. And then this is the last part of the location. Now there's a magazine and stuff that you can get here. I know there's several bobbleheads as well. From Wavy Willards, I normally head straight down here to Tyler County Fairgrounds. Now you just want to go down in there and just kind of run through everything. There's several locations for bobbleheads and magazines and stuff down here as well. Now you just need to make sure that back building there where that white car is, that you actually go inside there, because every once in a while I will find one in there, and then there's some cars you can kind of see that's to the right of that building, and there will be some out there as well. So just make sure you're kind of going through the entire thing and running all the way through. Now, for our very last stop from Tyler County Fairgrounds, you want to head straight down below 76 to Wixon Homestead. So you could actually save a little bit of caps by coming right down here. Now, this place, people don't know where to look, I'm assuming, because I found like 4 here. I don't know how or why, but I have found so many here, it's ridiculous. So there's always some in here. You need to make sure you check that barn, because there's always at least one in there. You need to make sure you come up here. People, I think, farm the front and they don't farm the back, and there's actually one all the way back here, and a place for a bobblehead. Well, it's actually 2, it looks like. Half the time they're already running down here after you. I don't normally have any of them frozen, except for the one that's in that barn over there is normally the one that's frozen for me. Like I promised, there are some honorable mentions. Now, I have my own way of doing things, and you guys have your own way, and you will figure it out for yourself. But Bolton Greens is another place that people love to come to. It's a very big location, and a lot of people miss the perimeter. So there's a ton that spawn on the outside. This is what makes this one so time consuming, because unless you have multiple people with you looking into each location, it gets to be too time consuming with just one person. So I normally skip this one. Now there is an event that can spawn, like, trigger there, but it doesn't always spawn in scorched, but you can always go and just see if you're getting scorched, and then that way you can, run a chance of actually getting more holiday scorched. The next place I'm going to take you to for honorable mention number 2 is Thunder Mountain Power Plant. Now there are scorched up here, but this is a twofold situation. So you can come up here and actually farm the scorched, but then you can also take over this workshop, put down your Sanitron, and farm more gifts. You can also get some fusion cores, crystal, nuclear materials, water, food. You get all sorts of stuff. You can see right there what you get. But the best part about this isn't just the fact that you get to put your Sanitron down. It's that you keep on spawning your own events. You will be told when it's being attacked, and you just need to come up here and defend it. And most of the time, it is definitely scorched. So it's a win-win. Every once in a while, it's not that, but you're just basically just keep on spawning more and more, enemies for yourself to increase your odds. And in that same token, the next place, number 3, is Poseidon Energy Plant. Lots of people love to come here as well. It's so spread out. I don't particularly like it, but with this event, you can actually farm the workshop and end up getting a whole bunch of extra holiday scorched. And then straight up from there, the last place I'm going to mention is Palace of the Winding Path. I do not like coming here. With these guys being frozen, it just makes it that much worse. There's just too many levels, too many places you need to look. It just takes too much time. I feel like the reward versus benefit is just not good enough for me, so I don't do it. Like, a lot of people would say the same thing about this, but I don't have to look through a ton of buildings. Like, I can just look down in that one hole, and the rest of them I can kind of pop up and around, and I know exactly where I'm looking for, so it's not that bad. But they're on the inside of buildings, and you got to go in and weave yourself around. It takes up too much time for me. Lots of people would argue otherwise. That's why it is a honorable mention for me. The last one is going to be Glass Caverns, and it is down here. Now you just need to watch out for nukes, but you can also check for V9 and all the fissure sites too. And also, there's another place that's right down here as well. I don't have... Oh, Forward Station Delta. I thought that was another fissure site. All these locations can actually spawn in wonderful scorched, so make sure that you check those as well. Like I said, you just need to be listening for that alarm sound. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch some of my shorts. That way you don't get nuked. Again, if you want more choices, please check out my Spooky Scorched location video, and if you'd like to know some events that can spawn the Holiday Scorched, check out my Spooky Scorched event guide. And thank you to all my channel members. You guys make this entirely possible, so thank you so much. Love you guys, and I will see you in the wasteland. Take care.